This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. Prosecutors and judges watched intently the acting out and performance of Donald Trump and his lawyers in the E. Jean Carroll case. There's only one lawyer in town, anywhere in the country, that has 2 wins against Donald Trump already, and that's Roberta Robbie Kaplan, friend of the podcast. She's been on our show before, and her law firm and her team of lawyers, talented, it would be an understatement. And her performance against Donald Trump provides a blueprint and a roadmap for prosecutors. Even though hers was a civil case, it dealt with very complicated and very sensitive issues involving rape, sexual abuse, defamation, punitive damages, a jury, a judge. Some things are consistent. Some things there are no moving parts. And prosecutors watched intently because Donald Trump chose, even though he didn't have to, chose to attend most of the days of the trial this time around, the second E. Jean Carroll case, even though he didn't attend at all the first one. So I think the first trial in which the lawyers have changed, it was in the first trial of E. Jean Carroll, Joe Tacopina and an absent, tried in absentia Donald Trump, had little value, if you will, to prosecutors and judges about how to handle Trump and what to do with a problem called Trump and his lawyers. Alina Habba, even though to every thinking practitioner and trial lawyer like me and on Legal AF, we thought a law student in moot court competition in a law school would do a better job than Alina Habba, a trial team from college, a debate team from high school would have done a better job than Alina Habba in her defense, and I put that in air quotes, of Donald Trump at the trial. If anything led to the increase from one jury to the other of $5 million up to $83 million, the 2 different verdicts by 2 different juries, what was the thing that was different? Alina Habba was the lead trial lawyer, and the jury obviously hated her. And I can say that with conviction, being a trial lawyer who appears regularly in front of judges and juries. And 2, Donald Trump was present in the second case and not in the first one, and was constantly being reprimanded for muttering under his breath, acting out of turn, violating the court's rules, violating the court's decorum, insulting the judge, insulting ultimately the jury by extension, and the jury then punished him with a judgment that was 13, 14 times larger than the judgment when he didn't appear and he had a different lawyer attending. Now, the lessons for Donald Trump aren't the same for the prosecutors and the judges that I'm going to talk about next. For Donald Trump, he thinks Alina Habba did a great job. If anything, I think the lesson that Donald Trump has taken away from his massive loss at the trial level for the defamation and punitive damages case is that he should have more Alina Habba in his cases, not less. Of course, anybody watching her would think she should be immediately fired and sued for malpractice. I mean, lawyers that also had represented Donald Trump, Tim Parlatore, Jim Trusty, and even Joe Tacopina, who was colleagues and co-counsel with Alina Habba, have all said that Donald Trump was misserved terribly by Alina Habba and her antics. But that's the lesson he'll take away. But I don't care about that lesson for this hot take. My observation is, what did the prosecutors learn? The watchful eye of the prosecutors learned from the reporting about what happened in that courtroom with the legal team for Donald Trump and how they acted and acted out and teetered on the edge of contempt, and Donald Trump. Donald Trump will have to appear at every criminal trial I'm about to describe. Every one of them, every day of them, without excuse. He can try to get hall passes from the judge, if anything happens in his political life. But in criminal court, that's going to be few and far between. Judge Kaplan accommodated one such request in the civil case, giving him a hall pass for a couple of days to go to New Hampshire. But he got, the judge figured out he got had. Alina Habba lied to him. That's not going to happen again. So let's start with the first trial. It's going to go to trial March 24th against Donald Trump. Poetic Justice, Manhattan DA's office, first to indict, will be the first to try now the Stormy Daniels hush money cover-up business fraud case. So what has Judge Juan Merchan learned, and what has Alvin Bragg and his team learned? The lawyers for Donald Trump, at least on paper for right now, are Susan Necklace, who lost a 17-count felony tax fraud case against the Trump Organization just 2 years ago, and Todd Blanche, At least that was at last lineup. Joe Tacopina, having now departed the case noisily, doesn't want to be involved, wants to get behind a blast shelter for when this case goes south and quick, doesn't want another loss on his resume. And the question is what to do about Alina Habba. If it was you and I in this audience, we'd say Alina Habba shouldn't get anywhere near a criminal trial. But Donald Trump, again, learned a different lesson. So I expect to see more of Alina Habba, not less in this particular case. And then Boris Epshteyn, who likes to show up, he's an unindicted co-conspirator himself, show up, make mischief, be disruptive, get told off by the judge, he'll show up too. But now Alvin Bragg's team knows it'll be some combination of Necklace, Blanche, Epshteyn, Habba, and knows that Donald Trump tricks, right? He's already exhibited all the tricks that he has. The muttering under his breath, the insulting the jury, the trying to be disruptive in front of the jury, the saying inappropriate things in front of the jury, the insulting of the judge in front of the jury, the trying to overturn or overthrow the process of jury selection. And in jury selection in state court, it's different than in federal court. There's more opportunity for the lawyers for Donald Trump to speak and less for the judge. And there you'll see an opportunity for Donald Trump to try to wreak havoc with that process. But they know this already, having watched what happened in E. Jean Carroll. So now I expect the prosecutors to file motions in advance, just as they did in the E. Jean Carroll case, to pin Donald Trump and his lawyers down about what they can and can't do. So if they violate it, they'll be found in contempt. That was one of the benefits, the byproducts of this E. Jean Carroll case going first. It's a dress rehearsal of how to handle Donald Trump. It's almost like an owner's manual and what to expect from the lawyers. You can't, they've acted out, as broadly and grandly as they can. Inside the courtroom, in the hallway, outside the courtroom, Donald Trump muttering, sputtering, teetering, walking out in the middle of closing arguments, being insulting and dismissive to the victim herself. Now the prosecutors know what it looks like for Donald Trump to be in a trial. They've never seen that before. They've seen hearings and they've seen arraignments and they've seen things like that. They've never seen full-blown Donald Trump full on, a man in full, as they like to say, and Alina Habba as well. And Chris Keiss no better, the lawyers for Donald Trump. So there's a page from that book. Same lessons, same byproducts, same benefit that Jack Smith's team, the DC federal special counsel prosecutors, will have obtained from this valuable intel and information and color from Donald Trump having sat through a trial and watching them act out. Jack Smith has 2 cases. He's got Chris Keiss again in at least 1, if not 2 cases. That's the same lawyer that we've also seen act out during the New York Attorney General case, because those 2 cases, New York Attorney General case and civil and the civil damages, punitive damages case for E. Jean Carroll, gave us that amazing intel about how lawyers for Donald Trump act, how Donald Trump acts, right? We always have the jury issue going on right now. The first jury case, right? First trial, jury trial is the one with E. Jean Carroll. But you've also got information and intel prosecutors are picking up for the New York Attorney General case and how he acted out there. I want to do my closing argument. No, you can't do it. Sit down. I'll do it anyway. And they're going to be on the lookout and on high alert, right? DEFCON 1 for Donald Trump and his lawyers and how they act in front of a jury in a federal and state court. First case, New York State Supreme, we talked about, with probably Alina Habba dropping in, parachuting into the case. Same thing in the 2 cases by Jack Smith. Mar-a-Lago in Florida, which is John Lauro, some combination of John Lauro and Chris Keiss, probably Alina Habba again, and Aileen Cannon. And prosecutors from Jack Smith's office. Same thing, the DC election interference case. So the takeaway from this hot take is we now have crystallized under glass intel and information about how Donald Trump and his lawyers act in a trial setting. The New York Attorney General case for 11 weeks with 5 or 6 appearances by Donald Trump. The 5 straight days of trial in the E. Jean Carroll case, which Donald Trump in the performance there, the likely reemergence and reappearance of Alina Habba in these cases, and how to counteract her. all important information, intel, and color for prosecutors and judges who are about to take the next trial of Donald Trump. I know we've been talking about trials of Donald Trump for so long, you'd think he's had a dozen of them already, but he hasn't. He's only had 2 in the last 2 months. The New York Attorney General civil fraud case, which was a bench, not a jury trial, in which Donald Trump testified and then tried to do some sort of closing argument, but didn't appear every day in 11 weeks, and the 5-day E. Jean Carroll second trial that just concluded, leading to the $83.5 million verdict against him. We watched Alina Habba in action for the first time in both cases. We watched Chris Keiss in action and how he conducts himself in an unprofessional way. And the prosecutor's eyes are watching, and the judge's eyes are watching, and the principal law clerk's eyes are watching and learning, and they'll know how to do it next. I'm watching this new show on Apple TV, Masters of the Air. I found it fascinating. I thought I knew a lot about the World War II, having had some very close relatives serve in World War II. I had a uncle who actually was lost as a navigator, while he was flying, and they found him, if you can believe it, and he survived. But they had a very interesting scene where they immediately take pilots on this bomb squad and interrogate them with models about what just happened and how to avoid it happening next, right? The intel and the intelligence going into the next flight, the next bombing run, and how to make improvements. Same thing here. The prosecutors are now, I'm sure, prosecutors are going to reach out, in their own way to the lawyers like Robbie Kaplan and the lawyers like Letitia James and ask them for pointers about what they learned in an owner's manual on how to handle Donald Trump and his lawyers. And judges are watching and will be watching on Legal AF, only on the MeidasTouch network, the 2 million strong subscriber network. That's your network, no outside investors at all. You can follow me on all things Legal AF. We do hot takes like this one about every hour, along with my fellow colleagues on Legal AF, Ben Meiselas and Karen Friedman at Nifolo. So leave me a comment here. Thumbs up helps with the reviews, keeps the ratings up. It keeps the network on the air. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.